Recently in my 2-year survival world, I spent a lot of time creating custom rolling hills as a backdrop to my city, but today I'm returning back to my comfort zone, creating a stunning corner office building in the city centre. This will be fun, let's sit back in Minecraft. You know, it feels good to finally step away from this terraforming project and head back into the city. It has been such a long time since I just created a building. I've spent so much time in this area creating all these trees, all this terrain. There's a full video on that if you want to check that out. But here I'm back in my home. And it may sound boring, but I want to try and create a really cool office building. And I believe I've got the perfect plot of land. And because of the custom terraforming, I've actually got a load of oak wood as well, which I really want to utilize because there's a lot of different oak blocks which we can use together to make quite a fantastic looking building. And so now that we've just taken the subway into the city centre, let me show you where I'm planning to build this thing. Because on Central Boulevard East, this street right here where the town hall is, coming up this street we've got the cathedral right at the end. I've had this plot of land and I've always called this area the Four Corners. We've got a corner here, we've got this area here which has got the humongous map in the centre, and we've got this building right here made out of sandstone. I think a building right here made of oak will look really quite good. It will also just finish off this area in the city centre, so we can kind of have a proper little crossroads where you're surrounded by buildings as opposed to just wasteland. I mean, look at that. I mean, this area is just nothing but a mess. I mean, we've got so much just old terrain that's been mined away. There's a hole here. There's a whole lot of resources as well from this building and that building. I mean, it's crazy. There's a lot of stuff in here. But I think first things first, let's clear out this area so we can actually work in an actual area as opposed to just a wasteland. Crazy of me to think that I was escaping all the terraforming, but just look at that shadow from the building right here. I've been watching this a lot. Look at just the different details. That is a cool shadow, even the big copper dome on the top, and then the chains as well. That's crazy. So vibrant visuals, we are on Minecraft Bedrock Edition. If you've noticed a Java UI, it's because I've got a pack for that. There's a download link in the description. It's not mine, but I use it a lot. This is so cool. And so let's take the subway back to the east end where my base is, where all my resources are kept, and then I'm going to show you kind of the block palette for this build. So down here in my storage system, let's take a look at the stripped oak log and then the oak planks. They of course work really well together because they're made from each other. But as accent blocks, these look absolutely fantastic. Don't they just look like they're part of the same set? And then for even more detail, we can even put a lectern as well. And that is just such a great array of blocks with so many different shapes, especially with the lectern. And then you can of course get all these different blocks as well. Before you know it, you've got a complete set of all kind of the same color, yet they just look great. So with all the resources in these barrels now, I'm going to grab some beehives, some chisel bookshelves, and then some oak planks as well. And you can see that this is quite a strange plot of land, which makes it difficult because it's on a corner, first of all. It's also at an angle on this side and that side, and it gets higher there and it gets lower here. So we've got a lot to be thinking about. You can see that I have kind of prepped this sort of general size of this building because I'm going to focus it in kind of this plane where you can see I've cut along just like that. And so for this side here, I'm going to place some chiseled bookshelves like that, and then I think we're going to go 4 blocks along and I'm going to place another one. And then because the beehives and the oak planks have such a similar texture, I'm going to try and integrate them together like that. And then I can basically try and just fill in the blocks kind of in that shape. And then to try and get this higher up, because we're still currently below the majority of the building, I'm basically just going to place in exactly what we did again, just on top, and then even here, and then I'm going to start going like that. I'm going to try and hide that inside texture by using the beehives like this. And then I think we'll have a door probably right here. We'll get another chiseled bookshelf there, and then we can start trying to curve this because I imagine a big window in the corner, kind of like that. And so I'm just going to spend a lot of time trying to curve this round. It can be quite difficult, especially when I'm trying to use the chiseled bookshelves to line things up. I'm going to put pillars on top of them. So I'm kind of looking, that's kind of even there. And then because we've got a door on that side, we'll have a door here as well. And then because of the shape of the terrain, we're going to have to go up a block, and I think that should be a chiseled bookshelf here. And then we're going to go like this again and basically just follow it up the terrain until we reach the end of the building like that. And now on top of these chiseled bookshelves, let's try and place in some pillars as well. And then we can strip them as well to give them that nice texture that we're looking for. And so now you can see the general shape for this building. And if you're coming up this street, that is definitely going to look quite good right in that corner. Let's also get some windows in here. So I'm basically going to do them kind of like that, where in between the pillars. And then for this one, I'm just going to leave it open because there's a door here. And then we're probably going to have to place some blocks here and then on this side as well. Now we can start focusing on this big window in the center. And then to make this look better, let's place some full blocks of glass, and it just kind of creates that sort of curve shape. I think that looks really good. But let's just keep filling in all the blocks like that and using our sort of variations between our planks and our beehives, and then getting in the glass where we can. And so now we've got that kind of shape, which I think it's a nice color and it fits with these blocks. So I try and place all my buildings and have different colors, so there's not two of the same kind of any anywhere, even though there's also an oak building there, but just ignore that. And there's even one further down there as well. I think it will look good. And because I don't like how the sort of glass is, it's quite flat there, I'm going to place some trapdoors. You can see it just brings it out ever so slightly. The new shelf block would be excellent for this. I'm basically going to go up another layer, just exactly the same. Oh, it'd be good if I could jump. And then on top of where the doors are, I'm going to place some slabs as well. And that kind of just caps that off. And then I'll do the same on this side as well. And so now it's just as simple as basically just stacking up another couple layers. I want these to have massive windows. I think it will look really inviting, really impressive, similar to that kind of building, only completely different because it's a completely different block palette. And then exactly the same with the center window as well. And then what we can do on top is basically just cap it off. And then we're going to place chiseled bookshelves again, basically in line with the pillars once more. And now I'm going to do a bit of forward thinking, and I'm going to place stairs on top, or basically next to all of these chiseled bookshelves, apart from these ones. Probably we'll do this one here, but not this one here where it's too close to the curve. And then this will basically allow us to have more things placed on top of these. I think it should look quite good. It basically just allows for more depth, but that's basically the entire first floor complete. And coming up the street and seeing something there, it just feels great. And so it's now time to start working on the second floor. So to do that, I'm basically going to stack this all up once more. And in fact, I'm going to face these into the wall now. And the reason why I've done that is so we can place in proper floors and have a bit of ceiling as well in between each floor in this building. And then on top of these stairs we placed in just there, I'm going to place in some lecterns as well. And then to keep the trapdoor theme as well, if I can reach, there we go. And now it's just a whole load of just repeating upwards. And because we kind of set a shape on the first floor, it's much easier to replicate it for the floors above. And I'm still going to keep the 5-block windows. I might end up regretting that because I'm going to have another floor on top of this, and this building is going to be massive. And now very, very quickly, we've got basically a shell of a building, so we can start putting another layer on top. So we're going to place in some chiseled bookshelves. I need to get some more though, and then we can just start filling in everything above. And then with this entire layer on top added in, I want to just basically replicate what we did down below, which is just the stairs and then the lectern again. And so now it's just time to add in a third floor. So this is really going to be quite a tall building, but it's great because this now feels like a really narrow street. And once we get another floor on top of here, this will be so cool to run through. And so much of the third floor is going to stay exactly the same as the previous two. However, it's when we get further up towards the top of the building is when things are going to start to change. So on the top, we're now really starting to enter territory where I'm not exactly sure how this is going to turn out. It's been fairly consistent of a design this entire method, so let's see how this looks. So I think first of all, we'll get some stairs in just like we've been doing, but on top of this sort of glass arched window, let's place some here and then place another trapdoor and another stair there. But looking at the building from here, I actually really like it. It's missing something. It just needs something on top, like a centerpiece, and then I think that'll be it. And because this is the top floor, I'm going to add stairs on top of the chiseled bookshelves. So it kind of gives that shape there. And then we're just going to place lecterns actually just right on top of these. And then on top of these oak blocks, let's just place in some fence gates. And then we'll even place a trapdoor against this lectern there. And then on top of the arch window, we'll place in some slabs like that. And then that's kind of all the oak that we'll use for this building. We need to try and get a roof on it now. And then the roof for this, because it's not really going to be seen, I'm going to use full blocks. And I'm going to basically just place them right up against this kind of edge right here. And then like we spoke about earlier, I'm going to have a dome on this middle part. So I'm going to try and bring this up. And then we're going to sort of push it back as well right here. And then this side is just going to continue along like this, all the way along. And it will meet where the dome's going to be. And then to actually try and make this dome is quite hard, but I have done quite a number of domes. You can see the museum dome when I jump right there. You just try and bring it in either side, and then we can start filling in the main roof as well. And then we're going to add just one more layer on top, and it is going to be just a flat roof all the way along, so I might as well just create an outline and bring it all the way across here, and then join it up to this side of the building as well. And then rather just filling that in just now, I'm going to properly focus on just finishing off this dome, and I'm going to go something like that. And just to make sure none of the light goes through the slabs, because that's a thing on Bedrock Edition. I've always thought it was just quite weird. I'm going to fill in the center, and then I've got enough blocks just like that to round off the top of the dome. That's our finished build, and I actually think it looks quite cool. I like the dome up the top. Not that you can really see it from this angle, but just looking at it, it's quite an imposing structure. I think once you've got buildings either side, and this is just a bit more built up down that street and that street, I think it will look really cool, especially once you get an interior as well. But now we can look down here, and you can really start to see the dome up the top. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I must say, from the inside, this building looks really cool. I think I actually prefer the inside to the outside. And so now that that's the roof complete, I'm just going to basically just use a whole load of oak planks, and we're just going to fill in the entire back two walls. And I think what we'll do for the interior is just place a whole load of spruce wood, because spruce wood just works well with oak. I'm going to try and use these pillars that we've already got. I'm going to try and maybe something like that. So I'm going to place a beehive, and we use beehives because the chiseled bookshelves have that texture, and I do not like that at all. This should be a perfect use case for the shelves. Cannot wait for those blocks. And I think I'll place another one right here as well, and then we can basically have a stairwell in the center of this build. And you know what? It's way too dark. I'm going to place a ceiling, and then we can start getting some lights in there because it's you cannot see a thing. And so for this stairwell, I'm just going to kind of place the stairs in this kind of shape, but I'm going to place things underneath as well, just try and give it that nice shape. And then we're going to basically just turn it, and it's going to go back up this way as well. And it should, if I've correctly positioned it, which it doesn't look like I have, let's remove all this and let's go one further up. And so it gives us something kind of like that. And then I've changed these back to the chiseled bookshelves because we've got something to place them against and hide that texture. And so we can basically just go along kind of like that, and then start to put in our pillars once again. And so with the stairwell, I really want to focus on the lobby. I think that's the most important part. And so I'm going to place kind of in line with these pillars. I'm going to go another, maybe we'll go 4 blocks along, place that there, and we'll place another pillar there. Let's move this further along like that. And then we'll start to build in some pillars here and here. Make sure that we strip all the logs. And so it kind of splits into something like that. And then we can just fill that in with planks and beehives. And then the likes of this big space here, we can have this being the sort of reception desk maybe. So let's try and get some arches in here as well. So I'm going to place that there and that there. Same with up here as well. And then above the reception as well. And so to keep this theme for the reception, I'm going to basically try and do this kind of design like that, which I think looks quite good. We can get some shelves up behind there as well. I'm going to hide a crafting table underneath the stairs, and then we're going to basically create some spruce slabs which we're going to use as shelves. And then for this space, I'm not exactly sure, so we'll come back to that in just a moment. Let's get some carpet and we'll try and add some more life in this area. For the lights in this first floor, I'm going to place a lantern on that shelf, and then I think we'll also place a lantern. I'm trying to line them up with these pillars, so we'll place one there, and I think that could be perfect for this room. That creates a really warm feeling. That looks really cool. And then we'll also place a big carpet right in the center. I think red will look quite nice. I think red carpets always look quite good. And we'll try and get some paintings on the wall as well. So we can have a painting probably right there. I think for the reception as well, we'll get a pot with a flower in it, just like that. And then I've even got some sea pickles, which we can put up in that top shelf just to have something up there. And then on this wall, we can get another painting. So let's see what kind of painting we can get. And I think something like that is good. There we go. So it's just a bit of life and a bit of detail. You don't need too much detail within a build. I think something like that is always quite cool, where it's just you walk past, you can just see something going on. The lights of this room in here, so we'll of course try and keep that red carpet just going throughout, just to try and add some kind of continuity. But I think what we'll do to try and make it slightly more interesting is if we add this kind of pattern. You'll see exactly what I'm about to do in just a moment. And I saw this when I was looking at Herobrine's mansion in another video where I'm looking at iconic Minecraft worlds. This is an old trick which I've not seen in such a long time. But where the wood was, I'm just going to replace it with just red wool. So it's just got a bit more depth and detail. I think it looks really cool. Now we could of course put another color in there, but I'm quite happy with just the red. And this is just kind of like a social, sort of like a ballroom, but I think it looks quite cool. And you know what, we could even just update this carpet as well using that same trick, and it just adds a little bit more depth. And let's also quickly add one of you guys onto the comment wall within the town hall. And this is a comment from the ferret who says, amazing terraforming, I love the algae and the plant life going along the river, never thought to do that. This has genuinely been a huge motivation to continue my survival mega project. Me and my friend are creating Broker and Dukes from GTA 4. Keep going strong, man. Get spam to 1 mil. That's crazy. Thank you for that hashtag as well. That's a very impressive project. That was of course a comment from the last survival video, so thank you very, very much. I'd love to see progress photos from that project because that sounds amazing. And if you've got anything you'd like to share, then please join the Discord. There's a link in the description. But yeah, I'm very happy with how this building turned out. I think it just works really well here. There's a bit of me that thinks it's quite flat, so we could return to this once they added the shelf blocks and we can try and add a bit more detail. But for now, I'm very happy with it, and I hope you are as well. Of course, we left the interior quite empty, and I did that on purpose. I did think this should be a bit of an office building, and we've got that on the ground floor. What do you think we should do upstairs? Because there's a lot of potential, which right now is not getting put to anything. So please leave comments of what you think we should do up here, and we'll return to this place in a future video. But thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much.